All right, today we're diving into the digital shadows to uncover 5 of history's most infamous and totally unsolved cyber attacks.
In the world of cybersecurity, some of the biggest crimes, well, the trail just goes completely cold. The people behind them, they become these digital ghosts, right? Their identities, their motives, just gone. So today, we're opening up their case files.
Yeah, we are opening up the internet's cold case files. And look, these aren't just your standard stories about data theft. No, these are genuine mysteries. I'm talking about culprits who pulled off their plans perfectly and then, poof, vanished.
So we're going to dig into 5 specific cases that span decades. We're talking everything from the early days of hacktivism all the way to massive data breaches. And they all share one thing. The bad guys were never, ever caught.
All right, let's kick things off with 2 cases from let's call it the early days of the internet. One of them was a really public protest, and the other, something way more quiet, way more shadowy, pure information warfare.
Okay, first file on the desk. Case number 1 takes us all the way back to 1989, the WANK Worm. This is a big one because it's pretty much considered the first ever hacktivist attack, where hacking and political activism smashed together.
So, who'd they go after? NASA and the U.S. Department of Energy. And their goal was actually pretty specific. They wanted to protest the launch of the Galileo space probe. Why? Well, it used a plutonium power source, and the hackers were terrified that if the launch went wrong, it could spread radioactive stuff everywhere. The whole thing ended up costing NASA over $500,000 in time and resources. And get this, authorities actually traced the attack all the way to Australia, but they never made a single arrest.
And right here, this is the actual message that popped up on infected computers. This wasn't about money or just breaking stuff. No, it was a crystal clear political statement. They were shouting out against what they saw as a huge, dangerous nuclear risk.
Okay, let's jump forward a decade. Case number 2, 1999. And this one feels a lot more sinister. We're talking about a direct hack on a military satellite. The target here was a UK Ministry of Defense satellite. This was textbook information warfare. The attackers didn't just eavesdrop. No way. They seized control. They actually reprogrammed the entire system. And even though Scotland Yard and the US Air Force managed to trace the attack to southern England, that's it. That's where the trail went cold. The hackers were just gone.
Now, the next couple cases we're looking at, they represent a big shift. The main motive isn't politics or spying anymore. Now it's about something we're all very familiar with today, cold, hard cash, and just causing chaos.
All right, case file number 3. The year is 2000. And this right here is one of the very first really high-profile examples of a ransomware attack. I mean, this was way before ransomware was a word everyone knew and feared. And the scale of this thing for the year 2000 was just shocking. A single hacker gets into the CD Universe website and walks away with 300,000 customer credit card numbers. You gotta remember, online shopping was still pretty new, and this kind of thing was a huge blow to people's trust in it.
So the attacker, who goes by the name Maxis, reaches out to the company. And the demand is simple. Give me $100,000 or I release all this data.
And here's what made this case so infamous. CD Universe said no. They refused to pay. So Maxis followed through on his threat. He published over 25,000 of those credit card numbers online for absolutely anyone to see. And even with the FBI on the case, Maxis was never found. A total ghost.
Okay, our next case really shows how these digital heists were starting to get bigger and bigger. We're in 2007 now, and one of the largest retail breaches of the whole decade hits 2 huge supermarket chains. We're talking millions of customers affected.
And this timeline, honestly, it's terrifying. Just look at this. The breach kicks off on December 7th. Malware gets installed in hundreds of stores, but the company doesn't even know anything's wrong until February 27th. That is almost 3 months that malware was just sitting there, scraping up customer credit card data. It wasn't even fully contained until March 10th. Think about that. The entire holiday shopping season and then some, customers were totally exposed. And the people who did it, never identified.
So our last case file is, well, it's a real head-scratcher. It's 2008, right in the middle of the US presidential primaries, and suddenly the homepage for CBSNews.com gets completely taken over. It's replaced with campaign stuff for one of the candidates. Now, he said he had nothing to do with it, and the motive is a total blank. Was it just political mischief, some weird kind of hacktivism? We just don't know. And, you guessed it, the hackers were never found.
Okay, so we've just run through 5 really different attacks, right? A protest worm, a military satellite takeover, a couple of digital heists. So just like a good detective, you have to step back and ask, what's the thread? What's the common clue that connects all of these cases?
What is it? What's the one thing that connects every single one of these digital ghosts? Well, the answer is actually surprisingly simple, and it's still the biggest threat we face in cybersecurity today. The answer? It all comes down to stolen credentials. That's it. That's the master key. It just goes to show you the most effective attacks aren't always about some genius hacker breaking down a digital wall with brute force. A lot of the time, it's just about finding a key that somebody else accidentally left lying around.
I mean, think back to that very first case we talked about, the WANK Worm. It didn't use some super advanced crazy exploit. It spread by taking advantage of the most basic security mistake you can make. People using the exact same username and password. Or having no password at all. The hackers didn't have to break in. They just opened the door and walked right in.
And look, this isn't just some dusty old problem from the history books. It is more relevant right now than ever. Even with all the amazing tech we have today, a truly staggering 85% of all cyber attacks are caused by one thing: attackers getting their hands on somebody's real, legitimate login details.
And that really brings us to the most important point of all this. These old cold cases, they're not just fun historical stories. They are fundamental lessons. They teach us about vulnerabilities that have maybe changed shape over the years but have never, ever really gone away.
You can draw a straight line from the past right to the present. That old weakness of using identical passwords back in 1989, well, today that's evolved into automated credential stuffing attacks. Those unpassworded accounts, they've been replaced by incredibly sophisticated phishing scams designed to trick you into just handing over your keys. And those simple software flaws that a hacker like Maxis used, they're now the targets for super advanced, even AI-powered attacks. See, the methods get fancier, but the core weakness, it's still the same.
So the people behind these 5 attacks, they all just vanished. They became ghosts in the machine. And that leaves us with a final, kind of chilling question, doesn't it? As our technology keeps evolving, who are the anonymous, untraceable ghosts of tomorrow going to be? And maybe more importantly, what human weakness will they find to exploit next?